In video 3, I told you I'd stopped picking individual stocks. I hadn't. I'm 27, I work as a chemist in Switzerland, and across my full investing history, I've made 173 trades on individual stocks. 73 of them, 42% of the total, happened in just the last 5 months. That's not a slow drift back into old habits. That's an acceleration. Video 3 was the confession. This is what happened after the confession, and it's bigger than the thing I confessed to. Here's the twist that took me a while to actually accept. I went through every one of those 173 trades expecting this to be a losses video. It isn't. I basically broke even. For a long time that felt like a relief. It isn't one. By the end of this video, I'll show you exactly what that not losing money actually cost me against the one number that matters most. What the market did the entire time I was busy. I'm fully transparent and honest in this video, and my only single goal is to show you my mistakes, so you don't make them. If you've ever told yourself you'd change something and then quietly hadn't, subscribe. I post the real numbers, mistakes included. But first, here's what the acceleration actually looked like from the inside. 40 different stock names passed through my account in that time. Microsoft, ServiceNow, KKR, Celcuity, IBM, Kratos, Ouster, Uber, PayPal, Pfizer, Micron, Meta, and 24 more. Some of you are already thinking, one relapse after a public promise doesn't need its own video. Fair point, except the relapse is bigger than the original confession. Video 3 was 50 plus trades over 2.5 years. This is 173 total, with 73 of them crammed into 5 months. The rate more than doubled. To put that in perspective, in the 2 years before video 3, I averaged roughly 2 trades a month. In the 5 months since, I averaged nearly 15 trades a month. That's not the same person occasionally slipping back into an old habit. That's a different level of activity entirely, and I didn't notice the shift while it was happening, because each individual trade felt small and justified on its own. I kept asking myself, and at one point kept asking an AI chat directly, for the one stock that could double or triple, not a specific company I'd researched. Just give me the name that goes up the most, the fastest, not moderate growth. I'd convinced myself that moderate risk and getting rich fast were the same goal. They're not, and I asked anyway, more than once, phrased slightly differently each time, as if a different phrasing might get me a different answer. The specific mistakes are where this gets uncomfortable to watch back. I bought speculative stocks and panicked at the first real dip. Celcuity, a biotech name, a genuine binary bet on a drug outcome, dropped over 30%, and every time it moved I asked whether to sell. I set stop losses too tight on names I actually believed in. IBM and ServiceNow both got triggered, locking in losses. Then I bought back in, sometimes at a higher price than I'd just sold at. IBM alone realized a small loss on its own. ServiceNow was worse. 6 separate trades. A realized loss of 722 Swiss francs, plus another 484 Swiss francs still sitting unrealized on what's left. And that one wasn't even the most avoidable of them. I chased falling knives. IBM and Micron both dropped hard at points during this period. And each time my instinct was cheaper means attractive, without checking whether the drop was a fair reaction to worse fundamentals. With Micron specifically, I bought twice on the way down, at 2 different lower prices before it recovered. Both purchases felt like conviction at the time. Looking back, neither one had anything behind it except the price had gone down, and that felt like an opportunity by itself. I let social media do my thinking for me. A clip about a trade deficit being cut in half. A Bitcoin chart captioned like it was the last exit on the highway. None of that was analysis. It was marketing, and I brought it in as if it were research, because it was fast and it confirmed something I already wanted to believe. And I created redundancy I didn't need. I bought Microsoft directly while already holding it 3 times over through my ETFs. Nasdaq 100, ACWI the lot. I wasn't diversifying carefully. I was concentrating without realizing it, adding a 4th exposure to a company I already owned through every broad fund in my portfolio. I've started calling this one the redundancy trap, buying more of something you already own several times over through funds you're not paying attention to and mistaking it for conviction. Some of you are already thinking buying more of a company you believe in isn't automatically a mistake. You're right. The mistake wasn't buying Microsoft. It was not noticing the redundancy trap had already caught me 3 times before I added a fourth. There's also a smaller pattern worth naming because it shows up across almost every one of these names. I traded the same handful of positions repeatedly instead of holding them. ServiceNow, Vanex Semiconductor, KKR, all bought and sold multiple times within the same few weeks, sometimes the same day. Each individual decision had a reason attached to it in the moment. Looking at all of them together, the reasons don't add up to a strategy. They add up to a reaction pattern. Something moves, I respond, and I call the response a decision. None of this was one bad week. It was the same handful of instincts repeating for 5 months on 40 different tickers. And every one of those 173 trades, I expected this to be a losses video. It isn't. And that's exactly where this gets interesting. I went through every closed individual stock position, every name I fully bought and sold, and added up the real result. That's 36 of the 40 names. The other 4, Celcuity, KKR, Microsoft, ServiceNow, are still open positions, counted separately in the total below. A single name like ServiceNow can carry several trades on its own, which is why 173 trades maps to far fewer than 173 positions. 21 winning positions totaling just over 6,197 Swiss francs. 15 losing positions totaling just under 2,968 Swiss francs. On the winning side, hims and hers alone accounted for over 1,190 Swiss francs of that. Nvidia added another 662 Swiss francs. Alphabet added 526 Swiss francs. ASML added 366 Swiss francs. A handful of smaller wins made up the rest. Gold, Rheinmetall, Implenia, Itochu, each a few hundred francs. On the losing side, Novo Nordisk cost me 727 Swiss francs. AMD cost 317 Swiss francs. Ouster cost 309 Swiss francs. Kratos cost 292 Swiss francs. Moody's cost 278 Swiss francs. Smaller losses on Constellation Brands, Strategy Inc., IBM, PayPal, Uber, and Pfizer made up the rest. Net result across all 40 names, including what's still open right now, roughly plus 1,769 Swiss francs. I didn't blow up my account. For a long time, I assumed this would be a losses video. It isn't. Some of you are already thinking, then what's the actual problem if the number is positive? Fair question, and it's the one I had to sit with. What actually matters here is what that positive number costs to produce, not whether it landed positive or negative in the first place. 2.5 years, 173 trades. Real stress on a minus 31.74% drawdown I am still sitting on, for a result that's barely above zero. Here's a way to think about the size of that number. 1,769 Swiss francs spread across 173 trades over 30 months works out to roughly 10 Swiss francs per trade. 10 francs of profit, on average, for every single decision to buy or sell, after accounting for the losses that offset the wins. That's not the return of a strategy. That's closer to the return of noise, with a slight positive lean purely because the underlying market happened to be strong the whole time. Because in the same period, doing almost nothing did 4 times better. My boring core, the ACWI, the Nasdaq 100 tilt, the semiconductor and emerging markets, ETFs, I don't touch monthly beyond automatic contributions, realized over 8,288 Swiss francs in gains during the same window, just from rebalancing and holding, more than 4 times what 173 trades and 2.5 years of stress produced. The mechanism isn't complicated. The ETF core owns hundreds of companies at once, so no single bad outcome, a failed drug trial, a bad earnings call, can do much damage to the whole. It never panics at a dip because it doesn't make decisions. It never chases a falling price because there's no single falling price to chase. Only a broad average quietly recovering the way broad averages tend to. Every advantage I was trying to manufacture through individual picks, the core already had built in by simply being diversified and left alone. 173 trades, 40 stock names, a minus 31.74% drawdown. On one position I'm still holding. 6 separate whipsaw trades on another. All of that effort. For a result, my own untouched ETFs beat 4-1 without me lifting a finger. If that comparison lands the way it landed for me, hit the like button. I built my entire portfolio thinking the tilts and the core were roughly equal partners, each pulling their weight. They're not, and this is the number that proved it. The core did the work. The tilts and the individual names were mostly noise dressed up as effort. There's a version of this where the honest answer is the stock picking was harmless, it just didn't add much. I don't think that's quite right either. It wasn't harmless. It cost time, attention, and a drawdown I'm still carrying until QED. Harmless would mean no cost at all. This had a real cost. It just didn't show up as a loss in the account balance. But even that comparison is still against myself. One part of my own portfolio measured against another part of it. The comparison that actually matters is against the index itself. What the global market did the whole time I was busy, regardless of what I chose to hold or trade. I ran that number, and this is the part that actually changed how I think about all of this. MSCIACWI returned 17.49% in 2024, 22.34% in 2025, and it's up roughly another 10% so far this year. This wasn't a flat, boring market I was trying to beat with clever stock picking. It was one of the strongest 2-year stretches the index has had in over a decade. 2 back-to-back years of double-digit gains, plus a third year already tracking similarly. If there was ever a stretch where doing nothing would have made you look brilliant, this was it. My own account, over the same window, a total gain of 13,596 Swiss francs on 79,001 Swiss francs actually contributed. That works out to roughly 17% overall across the entire 2.5-year period, not per year. Here's the estimate I ran. Take that same 79,001 Swiss francs, spread evenly across the same roughly 29 months, and put it into the ACWI index instead. Nothing else, no stock picking, no timing, just the same money on the same schedule. Using the real annual returns for those years, that comes out to approximately 27%. To be clear, this uses equal monthly amounts against the real annual returns. Not my exact contribution dates run through a back test. The gap, roughly 7,600 Swiss francs, the difference between what actually happened and what doing nothing would have handed me for free. During 2 of the best years the market has had in a decade. Not a loss on paper, a real gap. I expected this section to show a smaller difference, or none at all. And here's the part that explains why this keeps happening, not just that it did. I think about this like a train that was already moving at a steady speed before I got involved. My ETF core, automatic contributions, no decisions, no checking, is that train. It doesn't need me. It was already at cruising speed. What I keep doing is stepping off it to run alongside, convinced I can catch a faster one. Sometimes I catch up, sometimes I fall behind and have to sprint back on. Either way, I'm spending energy the train never needed me to spend. The strange part is that stepping off never actually feels like a mistake in the moment. Every single one of those 173 trades had a reason attached to it that felt sound at the time. A dip that looked like a discount. A chart that looked like momentum, a conviction that felt like research. It's only when you add all 173 of those individually reasonable decisions together that the pattern shows up, and by then it's a habit, not a decision. Looking back across everything in this video, there are really only 3 moves repeating under different tickers. The redundancy trap. Buying more of something I already owned through a fund, mistaking it for conviction. The reaction pattern, something moves, I respond, and I call the response a decision. and the falling knife instinct, treating a lower price as a bargain without asking why it got lower. 3 moves, 40 stocks, 173 trades. 40 different tickers wearing the same 3 mistakes. I said in video 3 that I'd stopped. I'm not going to make that promise again here. What I do know is what it actually costs when I do this. Not in losses, but in an entire 2.5-year stretch of effort spent chasing a result. The boring version of my portfolio was already producing without me and doing it better. So here's what actually changes and what doesn't. I'm not going to tell you I've deleted the trading app. I said something like that before and it didn't hold. I've stopped treating I didn't lose money as proof the behavior is fine. Breaking even on 173 trades doesn't defend the approach. It sets the minimum bar that let the behavior continue undetected for 5 months, because a real loss would have forced this conversation sooner. And I'm tracking the comparison, not just the balance. Not did I make money, but what did the index do while I was busy? Every time going forward. Because that question would have stopped me 5 months ago if I'd been asking it in real time instead of after the fact. There's a longer term cost too. Every franc of effort I put into these 173 trades was time I wasn't putting into the channel, or into just letting the automatic contributions do what they already do well. The 10-point gap against the index is only part of it. The bigger cost is 2.5 years, where the actual lesson that the boring plan already works was sitting right there in my own account, and I kept looking past it for something more exciting. If you want to actually check this on your own account, it's one exercise. Add up every individual stock trade from the last 12 months, win and loss, and compare the total to whatever your index fund did in the same window. Takes 10 minutes. Most people never run it. 173 trades, 40 stock positions, a result that barely cleared zero. A gap against the index that only shows up once you actually run the comparison. If you haven't seen video 3, where I first said I'd stopped, that's next. See you in the next one.